good football team, a solid football team that'll win a lot of games in our league this year. And just proud of the coaches and proud of the players for handling all that and moving forward.
One of the amazing things to me is we talked last week, and Ohio came into that game number 1 in rush defense in the MAC, and you said they like to flood the box with a lot of people. Then you lose Titus, which gives me more incentive to move everybody up to the line. But yet I look at Saylor's rushing totals, and he's got a new career high of 190 yards. How did that happen?
Well, that's him, that's the line, that's the scheme, that's the tight ends, everything, just working together and executing. And I agree with you, Don. I told somebody, I told our coaching staff, I said, wait till they see that Titus isn't warming up. I go, there might be 12 guys in the box. But I said, hey, you know what? We got good wideouts, and we've got to use our tight ends, and we've got to use our wideouts, and got to find a way to get it done, and our players did that. But the big thing was early in the game, I thought we ran the ball very effectively, and what that did was it shortened the quarters too, and it didn't give their offense a chance to keep getting turns. We held on to it for a while. Even when we weren't scoring, we were holding on to the ball, and we were keeping their offense off the field. And then our defense did a nice job of handling their run game. And I think we held Blankenship to 80 yards or 79 yards or something. And he's a very good back. And it was just kind of a lot of things put together. But you got to be able to run the football. And even when people think you're going to run it or know you're going to run it, you got to find a way to do it.
Why was Saylor able to get to the edge? It seemed like a lot of his big runs, and he had some runs over 30 yards, when he was able to get outside and looked like he had that blocked really well.
Yeah, we had some things out there that we liked. Our tight ends did a good job on their 6 techniques, and we were able to reach them. And then our wide receivers did a very nice job blocking on the perimeter. And, they had 2 very active safeties. And when their scheme or their defense, the safeties are very involved in the runs, and the corners are kind of softer players, and we were able to get our wideouts in on those safeties and make the corners have to make tackles, and we were able to get some explosive plays because of that.
Kind of nice when you see something on film and then it translates actually to the ball game and you're able to hit that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Every week you try to show the guys and give them as many looks as you can at what they're going to see and how we're going to block it and how we're going to handle it. And again, the guys executed. And I think our coaches on both sides, but just talking through the run game, our coaches on the sidelines in between series did a very good job of communicating amongst each other about things we like, things that would be good, formations we could utilize. And but at the end of the day, the players have to execute it, and they did that. And Maurice ran hard, Saylor ran hard, and then got some big play out of Courtney Williams, and our tight ends made some big catches, and Cooper Rush played well on 3rd down. That was key.
Well, Titus, his injury was an issue for you at Ohio, but you overcame that. How close is he to getting back on the field? I know he's itching to get going again, isn't he?
Yeah, he wanted to play last week, and obviously we just got to sit there when Doc says he's cleared, you know what I mean, and then go from there. But he's got a good chance to play this week, so it'll be good to get him back. If we can get him back in there, that'll help balance the field out a little bit. And and when he's out there, people always got to know where he is.
Yeah, we've talked about many times. He's one of the premier playmakers in the Mid-American Conference. He's somebody out there that they have to account for in every play. And he's one of those guys that gives you the ability when you're running the football, and I know you like to do this, a little play action, to get him one-on-one with somebody, and the odds are in your favor, aren't they?
Yeah, we've got to do that this week too. They're going to be real active down in the box, and I know they've talked to their football team about not letting us run the football. And again, as always, tight ends, wideouts, whoever it is, you're going to have to play action, and somebody's going to have to make a play down the field.
It's funny when we look at your defense, and let's start with the linebackers, and we look at the totals for Shamari and Justin, your linebackers, and now I think they're tied atop the Mid-American Conference for tackles where those guys are at. And it just seems like they're a constant within your defense. Your defensive line is playing great. We'll talk about them in a minute, but those linebackers seem like they're there game in and game out.
Shamari and Justin, they're doing a great job leading. They're making plays. Both those guys played very well again this week against a very difficult scheme. Ohio puts you in a lot of positions, run-pass conflicts and different formations and adjustments that you have to do. So those guys are very smart. They're very diligent about their work, their preparation. They go about it like a couple of pros, And Coach Nystrom does a great job with those guys. But those guys have been steady in there. It's been a while since we've had 2 linebackers, that just have lined up and played, and you can count on them. And through the last part of last year, now into this year, it's been real comforting, and those guys that bring a little bit of stability to that defense.
And then in the back end of your defense, Kayvon Frazier named the MAC West Defensive Player of the Week. Another turnover back there for him, and just great play from the secondary and causing opportunities for you to get the football back. And we always talk about turnovers, but I don't think people realize not only do you get the football back, but the momentum swings on something like that. When you get a pick like that, when somebody else is driving or moving the football, it completely changes the field, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's the thing about defense that we talk to them all the time about. Just keep playing. Even if they're moving the ball, keep playing. And anybody can make a play at any time. Brandon Grille had a pick. Kayvon did, and I think Kayvon caused the fumble too. Kayvon's he's a young guy. He's a true sophomore. He played as a true freshman last year. Didn't play much in the secondary last year for us, though, but played a bunch on special teams and got his feet wet a little. So this is his first year as a starter. He's a 3.5 student. He's 218 pounds, safety, and he runs extremely well. He was a 1,000-yard rusher in high school. He's got a great upside. He's got a really, really high ceiling on where he could be and where he's going to end up being. But he's one of those guys that's a playmaker, like Jason Wilson's like that, in my opinion. They just kind of find the ball. They make plays, and they're good football players, and they're very instinctive and very smart.
Jason Wilson's been that constant back there for you in the secondary, and then you get help from somebody like Brandon Grille, who I thought made an incredible play to catch up with that football. Looked like it was going to be a touchdown, and then at the last second we see him come flying in and pick that football off.
Yeah, Brandon's another guy like Kayvon, true sophomore. Played pretty much only on special teams last year. He was the Chicago Catholic League Player of the Year as a running back in high school. And smart me, we moved him to defense, But so he's just getting his feet wet as a defensive back too, and his best days are ahead of him. He's a 210-pound corner, 6 foot, 210-pound corner, where you don't see a bunch of those running around. But again, very bright futures for both those guys. The more Brandon plays, the more comfortable he'll be. Same thing with Kayvon.
How much of a transition is that to go from a running back to, let's say, a defensive back position, and how long does it normally take before you feel like they really got that position?
Oh yeah, it takes some time, but it takes playing. You go in there and your opening game, you're playing at Michigan, and then you move through, and there's a lot coming at you. And with today's college football, every week you're seeing a different scheme, you're seeing a different offense, different routes, different ways people are attacking you. It's a lot different than high school football. So it takes a little while to adjust. Those two guys are doing a good job. Archie Collins, our corners coach, is doing a great job with Brandon. You can see Brandon getting better every week. And then Coach Tumpkin with Kayvon. Those guys, the thing about it is those guys work extremely hard at it. And when you're a hard worker and it's really important to you, you get better quickly.
Final question for you for this segment. Do you approach a big win, the aftermath of a big win, the same way you do if you lose a game, as far as how you treat it as your week sets up? Do you do the same thing on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or is it a little bit different?
No, we do the same thing. We have a 24-hour rule that you can, celebrate your win and feel sorry for yourself. But after that, you got to move on. Mm-hmm. It's win, lose, or draw. Sunday when they leave the building, they leave about 5:15, 5:30 Sunday evening. You got to move on to the next opponent. You can't let that linger, good or bad. You got to get it out of your system. So we did that the last couple weeks, every game, and got it out Sunday. And then Monday we have academics. Is their day off, and we do only academics on Monday with the players. We have academic meetings with them, and then practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Well, you couldn't spend a lot of time enjoying the victory against Ohio because you only have a top 25 team coming in for homecoming, right?
That's right.
Northern Illinois. We'll talk with Coach about the Huskies here in a second. Before we go to the break, remind you that this segment was presented by PNC Bank. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC. PNC Bank, for the achiever in you. Fabiano Brothers, proud distributors of Bud and Bud Light. We'll be right back on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network.
This is sophomore Stella Valley. We love running out of town into a packed student section on game days. We need everyone there this Saturday as we battle Northern Illinois. Show up early, be loud, and help us beat NIU. Fire up chips.
Nutrient-rich chocolate milk helps athletes refuel and rehydrate after intense exercise. Coach was just talking about loading the guys up with Gatorade, and we need some chocolate milk on the bus for those guys after a big win.
Yeah, we've got a lot of Gatorade and water and
and then the 7-hour trip back home,
and,
right?
Qdoba pizza.
It was a fun trip though, because as much as 7 hours on a bus can be after the big win against Ohio, but quickly after a viewing of what was it, Naked Gun on the bus on the way home?
Yeah, we saw Naked Gun. That was good.
Some laughs.
Oh yeah.
Quickly,
for the coaches, the players didn't seem to really like it. To be honest with you.
And then your attention quickly turns to NIU. The nice thing about facing a conference foe like that is you've seen them before, and it looks like they've got the same cast of characters, and it seems like they're running basically the same stuff, at least to a novice like myself. Are they very similar to where they've been in years past?
Yeah, they are. They're very similar. You know, they've changed the head coach, but a lot of the assistant coaches remain the same, and the coordinators are, the head coach was the offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator is the same. So, yeah, very similar. Offensively, they got about everybody back, and they just pick up right where they left off. They're very, very talented. Defensively, I think they lost 7 starters from last year, but very athletic defense. Run very well, play very hard, and they're good. There's a reason they're 6-0.
What kind of defense is this? Is this a gambling defense? Is this a zone defense? Do they sit back? What do they like to do?
Yeah, they play a 4-3, but they're going to try to keep their safeties very active in there in the run game, and I think they're going to be very, very active, and I think they're going to try to get 8 or 9 in the box against us to try to stop the run. That's what they did against us last year, and it's going to be very important that we are able to still run the football, and then we've got to make some plays outside.
Their rushing defense, you saw the number 1 rushing defense in the MAC last week. Now you get the 3rd-ranked rushing defense in the Mid-American Conference, and a lot of teams selling out against the run. But still, even with that, you have to have balance, and you have to run the football. And after your success last week, we haven't talked about the offensive line a whole heck of a lot and what they were able to do to get Saylor free for his big day. But I would imagine that's where it all starts for you again, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We're going to have to run the ball, and the O-line, tight ends, and the fullbacks and the backs are going to have to do a great job. And as we all know, when you can run the ball, it doesn't matter what system you run. When you can run the ball, it makes everything else easier. It makes the pass game better, makes 3rd down conversions better because you've got a lot shorter ones you're trying to convert, and it just helps the entire game.
Time of possession was huge against Ohio early on because we saw in the second half, once Tyler Tettleton had some time and had the football in his hands, he can make things happen in a hurry. Same thing with Jordan Lynch, a little bit different offense. They like to run the football a little bit more, and Jordan racks up a ton of yards on his own. But still, they have to have the football, especially with the way they use it. They have some long drives, and if you can limit the time they have it or the time available in a quarter, that really helps.
Yeah, that's I think that was a key last week in the first half, especially was our ability to stay on the field offensively. And we need to do that. We need to get first downs, and we need to take time off the clock and limit their touches. You limit their touches by moving the ball, by not turning it over. I think that'll be key. Jordan Lynch is a very good runner. He's like Zerline that can throw. You know what I mean?
Right. He's a big guy. People don't realize.
He's big.
Yeah.
He's thick. He's fast, and he's obviously he's done it all. He's a player of the year coming back, and he deserves all those accolades. And he's a very, very good football player.
Well, I've been shocked that he's been able to stay healthy because he runs the football so much. He takes a lot of shots. He's a big guy, but that the guy gets hit that much in this day and age in college football with all the big hits out there. It's amazing he's been as healthy as he has. There's word out there now, and maybe in the film we saw he's a little bit banged up, but he's still running that offense well. When you look at their stats from last week, we were talking about it before we went on there. 2 for 15 on 3rd down. That's very un-NIU-like against Akron. And an Akron team we can't really figure out. One week they're fantastic. We saw it against Michigan. Then the next week against Ohio, they really couldn't get anything going on. Yep. And then they come back and they play great against NIU. Can you take too much from what you saw last week?
Yeah, it's college football. It's so difficult to say, well, this team beat that team or this team played this team that way. Every week is different, but NIU in Akron had a great game. I thought Akron played extremely well last weekend, both sides of the ball, and they did a great job on 3rd down, as you mentioned. And they just were physical and they kept playing, and they got them in a bunch of 3rd downs. And you know what? they didn't execute quite at the same tempo that they had been in the previous games. But the big thing is try to get them in third down and try to get them in some third and longs, and you got to try to hit that quarterback some, and keep him off balance and change up what he's seeing from snap to snap too. Don't let him get comfortable with what he's looking at.
Well, 2 years ago they came in here and they were riding high, and you beat them 48-41. I'm guessing you don't want to see a 48-41 game again. You'd like to see it a little bit lower than that because the team's a little bit different. You had Ryan Ratcliffe, who was a seasoned quarterback at that point. You were throwing it a little bit more, maybe an opportunity to put some more points on the board. But I think your defense is playing a little bit better right now, aren't they?
Yeah, and I'll take 48-41 if we have 48.
Right. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. 3-2, whatever. But yeah, our defense is playing very well, and this is going to be a huge challenge, to slow these guys down. But the big thing is that we just got to continue to execute. And as I always say, Don, we got to win turnover battle. We can't give them a short field, and we can't. A big thing for me is we got to limit their explosive plays. Don't allow them to have a cheapie. Make them have to work for it. If they're going to score and get points, make them work for it and work the ball down the field and have to execute their offense.
We went there last year and lost that ball game, and it just seemed like to me that NIU as a club, they like to wear you down with the way they play football on offense and running the football, and Lynch running the football a ton. And it just seemed like last year they were able to wear down the chips a little bit later on in that ball game, and things went their way a little bit. With the way you've been able to substitute on defense, even though you've had some injury problems, you feel like you're better prepared this time around to go up against that offense?
Yeah, I think so. I think anytime you can play multiple D linemen, I think that's a real bonus for you, And, yeah, you're right. Last year that game was 27-21. I think with some change left in the third quarter, and we had the ball on their 17-yard line, and we ended up throwing a pick. Or else, we could be up 28-27 at that point, and who knows? And then you're right. They did in the fourth quarter. They started controlling the football, and that's what they do. They're very good at it. But we got to rotate guys. A lot of D linemen got to play. We got to play linebackers. We got to be great on special teams, and we got to match their physicality. And what I've told our teams, not only match it, we got to exceed it.
Special teams always big in a ball game. We talked about the muff punt by Ohio, which led to your game-winning score. You had some kicking issues last week. Ron Cluzy missed a couple. He'd been great earlier on in the season. A little bit inconsistent. Where does everything stand in that regard?
Good. Ron's had a good week. He's a freshman too. And he made his first 5. And it's like I told him, I said, you're going to miss at some point in your career. So whenever that does happen, just miss it and move on. And move forward. So he came back and hit one and made his last extra point. He's had a good week. And again, 19-year-old young man, going through things. And but we believe in Ron, and he'll be fine.
Just tough in that situation. You always keep your fingers crossed that when you miss one or you miss two, that they're not the difference in the ball game, right?
Oh, yeah, because then you keep saying, well, if we wouldn't have missed that. But
right.
My whole thing is that we got to do a better job of running the football in the red zone so we're not kicking field goals, so we can score touchdowns. And the whole key to red zone offense, in my opinion, is your ability to run it. Because eventually that field's going to shorten, and it's tough to throw the ball down there when that field gets real small. And you got to be able to run the football down there, and that's one thing that we've really focused on this week.
All right, we talked about Northern Illinois and what needs to be done. You said to the folks here, and I encourage everybody to come out if they're in the general Central Michigan area and check out Coach before the radio program actually starts, because he breaks down the other team. You said the D-line, and you brought some of the guys with you tonight, is going to be very important against NIU. Let's talk about the D-line a little bit. Latarius Walton's going to be here in just a second. Tell me about that young man and what he's been able to accomplish in that group as a whole. They seem like they're really coming on.
Yeah, they're playing very well. Coach Rickham-Strict is doing a great job with them. LT in particular, I think, has really picked up his play the last few weeks and is playing very well. You'll see him when he comes on here. He's going to take up the whole screen. But he's 6'5", 315. He's extremely athletic, and he's playing. When he plays hard, plays with his pads down, and uses his hands and gets off the ball, he's very difficult to block, and he's been very good. Schaefer Johnson, Kelby Latta, the other defensive tackles have both been very solid, getting better. They're all big. They're all 300-pound guys, and I think we're going to get Matt Lozanecki back this week.
Great.
In some form or fashion, probably not a ton of plays, but some. And that's the whole key. You got to get good inside play, and then when your inside's playing well, linebackers are playing well, and then your ends are going to get pressure. And Blake Serpa and Jeremy and Lewis and those guys and Kenny and those guys are doing a nice job on the outside.
Final thing for you before we let you go is after this game, you've got a kind of a weird mid-season break of, I think it's, 17 days, something like that?
Yeah.
Before you play on a Wednesday night at Ball State. What do you think of that, and what's going to be your plan for approaching that once you get through the NIU game?
Well, it's good to have a bye week at some point, and this will come at a good time because, we'll have 8 games done, so we'll basically be working on a 4-game season after that. This is the way we're going to approach it is get fresh and ready, get our guys mentally and physically back. Some guys that have been trouble keeping weight on and all that, we got some time to put their weight back on and lift and run and work hard academically, and then continue to have some practices in there and get ready again for another outstanding football team, Ball State, another challenge on the road. But we're going to use the time very wisely to heal up and to look at things and look what we're doing and get ready for that 4-game stretch.
Well, they say good things come in threes, so let's make it 3 in a row. Best of luck on Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks, Don. I appreciate it.
That's the head coach of the Chippewas, Dan Enos. We'll come back. We'll chat a little bit with D-line coach George Rickenstrick and Latarius Walton from the Central Michigan defensive line right here on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. This segment brought to you by the YP app. With the YP app, YP.com site, and YP Real Yellow Pages directory, you can find everything you're looking for locally. It's everything you want, all in one place. A familiar face to Central Michigan football fans is here, George Rickenstrick, the linebacker and now defensive line coach. Good to see you again.
Excited about being back.
Tell me about coming home, what that feels like.
It's always exciting. Always coming back to Mount Pleasant. A lot of fond memories here at Central Michigan University. Second time coaching here, so it's always good to see familiar faces.
Your coaching style, I like watching you from the booth because you're a lot of fun to watch. You're out on the field, you're hollering encouragement at guys. You really get, there are coaches that are a little more cerebral. You're really into it, aren't you? You get caught up in everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the only way to deal with it.
Yeah.
I tell my guys all the time, I say, when you make a mistake, you're going to hear me, but when you make a play, you're going to hear me too, so that's important to me.
Latarius Walton is here, a defensive tackle from Clinton Township, the junior. What's it like working with Coach? You've heard him, I know that, throughout the season.
It's great working with Coach. He's very vocal and he's loud out there, and I love it. It helps bring motivation to practice every single morning.
Tell me about where you're at physically as far as the season goes. You're in the mix right there in the middle with everything, and I know you guys get beat up quite a bit. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You get beat up every single week, so it's all about preparation each week and getting your body back. So I've done that all week, and I'm feeling good.
if you had to grade the D-line so far this season on games, individual games, where does Ohio rank? Was that your best performance of the year?
I feel like that was our best performance, but we've still got more to come.
Good answer.
Man,
What's your major?
Sports management.
Well, you might want to consider communications as well. George, what do you think about the D-line's performance? Are you starting to see a progression from week to week? We're getting better each week?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the guys that put the work in practice every week, and it's starting to show on the field on Saturdays. We've had started the year off really with a four-man rotation. We lost Matt Lozanecki a little bit halfway through the season, and really it's been a three-man rotation the last 3 weeks, and I thought those guys have done a great job. We're going to get Matt back this Saturday for some reps, so I'm excited.
Well, you guys should be. That was a huge win down at Ohio, and George, you've been around some big wins in your time at Central Michigan, not only as a player but as a coach. Where does that one rank? Coach put it right near the top of his experiences.
Yeah, for me it would be. Absolutely. Just for everything that's taken place up to that point. They're homecoming. They're on a 4-game roll. They're feeling good about themselves. And obviously, we're at a point where, we needed another win. And we put the work in that week before, and it paid off on Saturday.
What about you, LT, in your time here? Where does that one rank as far as victories?
It's probably one of the best victories that I've been a part of besides the bowl game. At this point in the year, we needed a win, and we worked hard for it.
Well, George and LT are going to stick around. We'll take a quick time out, come back, chat a little bit more. We'll turn our attention to the Huskies of Northern Illinois when we come back on the CMU Sideliners program right here on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. Test. We got about a 2-minute break.
Okay.
We'll come back. So what's NIU look like? Same old story?
Same story. Physical team.
Yeah,
It's going to be a physical.
Back at the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. Fabiano Brothers, proud distributors of Bud and Bud Light. Visit themorningsun.com for the latest sports and news updates. The Morning Sun in print every day, online all the time. George Rickenstrick is here, D-line coach, and Latarius Walton, defensive tackle. We're chatting a little bit about the Chippewa season so far, the big win against Ohio, and now we turn our attention to Northern Illinois. George, when you look at these guys on tape, what's the key to stuffing Jordan Lynch and company?
We got to find a way to slow down their run. I think they're averaging about a little bit over 280 yards a game rushing, which is really astonishing. We got to cut into that total, and it starts up front. We've talked about it all week. We've got to do a good job up front. We got to win our one-on-ones. We got to hang in there on the double teams, and then when we get a chance to hit them, we got to hit them.
What's their game plan? Are they simply trying to overwhelm you with the run? What are they trying to do?
I'll tell you what, if you look at the film, they actually start the game out throwing the ball. Mm-hmm. So they're really trying to loosen you up a little bit, seems like, on the edges with quick throw games. And and those type of things, and then they try to come back to the run, midway through that first quarter. So I think ultimately they want to run the ball to set up the pass, but initially, looking at the tape though, they've actually started out with the pass to set up the run.
Number 1 rushing offense in the MAC, as you talked about, 282 yards per game. Number 9 in all of college football as well. So that's what they like to do, even though, as you talked about, they like to throw it around a little bit at the beginning of the game. LT, when you see numbers like that, like last week, you saw Ohio with the way they like to run the football too, with Blankenship and Tettleton. You guys got to think about that as a challenge. It really must get you fired up to play, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets us fired up every week. Every week we come in and, we watch the film, see the numbers, and as a D-line, we see it as a challenge, and as a whole team, we want to put our foot forward and give it the best we got.
Tell me about the guys that surround you on that D-line, and maybe a little bit about each one that kind of stands out. At the end of that game, Blake Serpa had a huge hit on the quarterback, and it seems like everybody's starting to chip in at certain times during the game.
Everyone has a crucial part on this D-line, and we all know our role, and I'd have to say that everyone on that D-line is very tough. They're all tough players, and they're going to give you a fight every time they're on the field.
George, I know you appreciate this. I get to listen to the other coaches talk about when they play Central Michigan, and the one word that always comes out is physical. They know they're in for a physical battle, and with the way you played, and I know the way you coach, that must be music to your ears.
Yeah, I mean that's Central Michigan tradition from a defensive standpoint. It's built on toughness. Started with Coach Durami, and it's passed on. I mean, when people play us, we want to hear about who's on the out list that next week.
Right.
That says a lot about you defensively as a football team.
LT, can you tell when you guys are winning that battle up front, you're getting physical with that offensive line and hitting those running backs and those quarterbacks when it gets to the third and fourth quarter? Can you see a difference in them by the end of the game?
You can tell a difference. They're going to keep coming at you, but you can tell a difference by how they're approaching you, running the ball at you. You start seeing them cut back and trying to get to the edge and everything like that. You can tell a difference by the third, fourth quarter.
Tell me about your path to Central Michigan, how you got here, and what your plans are for the future.
Well, Coach Enos recruited me out of high school, and I was very pleased with Mount Pleasant. And, I liked the place, and I came here and been working hard ever since. I'm a sports management major, and that's my goal is to graduate out of here with a degree in sports management and maybe one day make it to the NFL.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with that. Good luck this week against NIU. And Coach, if you had to give me one key from your perspective on slowing down the Huskies, what's it going to be? What's the one thing you got to get done?
We got to control the line of scrimmage. I mean, from a defensive line standpoint. And like I tell the guys every week, it starts up front, and we got to control them.
Well, best of luck with that. Hopefully another big win. Congratulations on the win in Ohio. That was huge for the program. And anytime you go on the road in the MAC and win 2 in a row, that's something else, isn't it?
That's huge.
All right, guys. Good luck this Saturday.
Thank you.
When we come back on CMU Sideliners, we'll turn our attention to CMU Cross Country after this break, right here on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. Back on the CMU Sideliners program, this week's Members First Credit Union Scholar Athlete of the Week is Nicole Samuel of the women's soccer program, a native of Brantford, Ontario. She has earned a 3.66 grade point average as a language arts major. She helped the Chippewas earn a weekend sweep over Mid-American Conference West Division foes Toledo and Northern Illinois, scoring her first goal of the season in that Chippewa 3-0 win over the Huskies Sunday afternoon. The senior also set up the Chippewas' first goal as her one-on-one shot was blocked, leaving a wide-open net for junior Laura Gross. Samuel's goal in the 9th minute was the 7th of her career. Nicole Samuel, this week's Members First Credit Union Scholar Athlete of the Week. Members First Credit Union making a positive difference now with 2 locations in Mount Pleasant. All right, we turn our attention to the runners now as Matt Kaiser is here along with Mark Guthrie, and they are the folks that are in charge of Central Michigan Track and Field. Mark is the director of track and field and also cross country, and Matt works closely with the runners. Good to have you guys here.
Thanks
Glad
for
to be
having
here.
us.
I was down in Island Park the other day walking the dog, and a group came blowing by me, and it was all your guys. The dog was not startled because they were moving so fast you barely saw them.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, that's one of our normal runs, our routes that we do about 3 times a week. So you'll see us there frequently.
Matt, tell me about your season right now, where you're at within your season, and how you're approaching things from a training standpoint.
Well, right now, both men and women's teams are ranked 12th in the region. They've been having a great season so far. They finished, just came off of both 4th place finishes at the Notre Dame Invitational. So that's what really propelled them to where they're at right now. We go to pre-nats this Saturday, hoping to see Kyle Stacks and Brianne Lesnar on both sides really come into their own, where this will be their 2nd race this year. So we're going to see what we can do as a team after the Saturday.
And your goals are still intact at this time of the season, what you're trying to accomplish with everybody?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, every year. I mean, we're looking to see where we can be at the Mid-American Conference. We're hoping to try and be right there in the mix with teams like Eastern on the men's side and Toledo on the women's side. And then, each and every year our goal is to make sure at the Great Lakes Regional that we're shooting for a top 10 in the Great Lakes region, because it's a tough region that we've got here.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, when you look at some of the cross-country teams throughout the nation that have been good, it seems like a lot of them come from the Midwest.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at it, you've got Wisconsin, Michigan State, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I mean, the list goes on and on. So like I tell our group, if you can get yourself into that mix each and every year, you're doing something right.
Mark, tell me about overall as a program how cross-country kind of fits into what you're doing. Obviously, you've got the distance runners out there, and pretty soon with indoor track and field, you get everybody out there and get ready for that season as well. Where are you at with the whole program?
Well, right now we've gone through our fall testing, made some decisions personnel-wise, and the next phase we're now doing a lot more event-specific work, and we'll make our final squad decisions the 2nd weekend in November. And then that's going to be the team we're going to roll with throughout. So we're doing what we call base work. We're building the foundation of the house right now. A lot of strength, a lot of base work. And then as we get closer and closer to January, we'll start picking up tempos and reps and things like that. So I'm happy where we're at. I think the team has grown culturally. We've taken some good steps. I'm really excited for the group. And then when you add Matt's group in, I mean, the distance and the throws are 2 cornerstones. And then we're building everything with it. So the success that they can bring with them from fall into track season is a huge jump start to the track team.
Let's talk a little bit about that, and it's got to be tough, I would think, from a distance standpoint, because your guys they're building a base, and then they're trying to get fast for this time of the year, and then you've got the indoor season, then you've got the spring season. Take us through that cycle and what they're doing from a training standpoint.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's fun trying to set up their training cycles for all 3, trying to peak for cross, indoor, and outdoor. But now we're kind of getting into the speed section of our training here for cross. We'll kind of go through that for a few weeks, and then we start tapering things down, getting ready for the regionals and hopefully nationals. Then they'll get some time off, and then we start building the house again and getting ready for the MAC meet and indoor. And then kind of go from there and see what we can do. As I tell the group each and every year, we're shooting for strong outdoor seasons because we've got a lot of people that have aspirations of making the NCAA first rounds, and it's a very doable goal for a lot of them. So that's kind of what we gear them for.
Mid-American Conference is always a goal. You talked about the pre-nationals coming up. Take me through how you get qualified as a team and how individuals can go as well.
Oh, definitely. What we're looking to do is there's 9 different regions across the United States for cross country. When you beat teams that are ranked very high and finish very high at their regional meet, you gain their points because the top 2 automatically qualify at the regional meet. So if you beat one of those teams, you get their points. And so as many teams that you can beat at these big meets is going to be helpful for you gaining those points in order to make it to the national meet. Because, gosh, a couple years ago, 2 automatically qualify, but we had 10 out of the Great Lakes region that went. So you had 8 teams that qualified at large because they beat that many teams through meets like this. So it's not out of the question if you can get yourself in that mix that you can qualify in.
And that's coming up. That'll be down in Indiana, right?
Indiana for pre-nats? Yep. Terre Haute, Indiana.
It's a Larry Bird country down there.
Absolutely.
And this cross country, you guys, you aren't concerned about weather at all. Your guys running almost anything, right? Do weather conditions play a role in anything that you do?
Oh, no. I mean, I love it. I mean, the weather today was awesome. We had our tune-up workout before Terre Haute. It was nice and rainy this morning.
So 50 degrees and rain.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they know me. I love them. But the weather is going to be what it is because, unfortunately, you can't control it. So they go out there and they had a great workout, and now we're ready to see what happens down there on Saturday.
Mark, before we go to a break, talk a little bit about the cross-country program here. You know, we've had some great runners through the years at Central Michigan. You inherited this whole program, track and field and cross-country. I think you got to feel pretty good about where you're at with the cross-country guys and gals, don't you?
They've made some nice moves. Obviously, we weren't ranked where we thought we should have been ranked, but they did a great job at Notre Dame, both finishing 4th, and that got us to 12th with both genders. I think they're better than that. And when it's all said and done, rankings really don't matter. It's where you run on the day. And that's a unique thing where cross-country versus a football, basketball, baseball, you keep position yourself throughout the year. This comes down to, can you be great on the day that matters the most? And so all the training is geared to be ready to roll on that one day.
So there's no pressure for the guy putting together the training plans, is there, Matt?
No, none at all.
Yeah, now if he wants to keep his job, he's good. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
All right, Mark and Matt are going to stick around. We're going to come back after a quick timeout. We'll talk a little bit more about Central Michigan track and field and cross country. Keep it right here on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. Distributors of Bud and Bud Light. I'm Don Scheido. Good to have you along on the Fabiano Brothers Central Michigan IMG Sports Network. We do this each and every Thursday. If you can come early, we'd love to see you. The radio show starts at 6 o'clock, but Coach Enos is here along with all the other coaches at about 5 o'clock, and then he breaks into his Chalk Talk, which I think is pretty interesting. And you guys, probably the first time you guys have seen something like that. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it gives you a different view. I mean, I'm not a football coach or player, so them breaking it down makes it much easier for you to understand like what's going on the field.
Well, for folks who don't know about cross country, and Matt Kazor is here along with Mark Guthrie, who's the director of track and field and cross country at CMU. There is strategy in running. It was funny, the Steve Prefontaine movie came on the other night. I was watching. He's a legendary runner that was killed way too early. When you go into a meet and you guys when you talk about, let's say, the Mid-American Conference meet, and you're going after in Eastern Michigan, and there's a particular runners, are you telling your guys, are they racing against certain styles, or what are they more racing with themselves?
They're racing with each other. What we do is we have what we call pack running. And what we do is we try and keep the guys close together, and we pick on one of the guys from another team, and we say, hang with that guy for certain point in the race. Since for the men it's 8K, we tell them to stay with them for 5 kilometers. Then at that point, then it's every man for himself, and we're going to make this a race and see what we can do. So that's kind of what we've made into our bread and butter the past few years, and it's really worked out pretty well for us. And on the women's side, we kind of do really about the same thing when we're trying to go after a team like Toledo, who's been a top 20 team in the nation. It's just making sure that we keep our pack close together so they can't break us up as easily.
And Mark, you also have runners that have different strengths. Some have great kicks, some like to run from the front, some like to do different things. How do you account for that when you're talking strategy to these guys? Do you try and incorporate what they do, even though you're using that run as a pack mentality? You know that each one of these runners is a little bit different, aren't they?
Well, they can take different jobs throughout the early Ks. Mm-hmm. Your strong kids who aren't going to be who have the ability to kick, they can kind of get the team out there, and then they can leave them and go. Grinders just get out and grind, literally. I mean, they're just hammering from the get-go because they don't have a lot of speed coming home.
Right.
They've got to get separation. So you have all these mini races taking place within the big race.
Hey, before we let you go, and good luck with your pre-nationals coming up here, by the way, Matt.
Thank you.
Quickly, you've got, and it's coming up, it'll be in the not-too-distant future, but Central Michigan's going to be hosting some events, which is great news for the program.
Right. We are going to host the conference cross-country meet next year, so that'll be a early November, late October event. And then we're going to be hosting the Indoor Track and Field Championships at the IAC. That'll be the end of February. So we have 2 pretty major events going to be in town.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. You're off to a great start. And, Matt, good luck. Go get them down in Indiana, all right?
Thank you very much.
That's Matt Kazor and Mark Guthrie from the Central Michigan Cross Country and the track and field programs as well. That's going to do it for the CMU Sideliners program. Don't forget, we're on the air with football Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock with our countdown to kickoff with Jim Costa and myself. Have a great night, everybody.